Big Fish, OG.
Enough of that. Let's get to it. Enough of that. Let's get to it. There we go. Good spot for the mic. All right, what we got? Let's see who's tapping in. Shout out to Critical Thinking. Spoke to Critical Thinking already today. He said it's going to be a great day. I said it's going to be a great day, and it's finna be a great day. Only ran 3 miles today. Brr, it's cold. Brr, you like, brr, it's cold. I think he said, what'd you say it was Critical Thinking? It was 37 degrees out. Only ran 3 miles today. Look at him making us all feel bad about ourselves. Shout out to Big Bro Steve in the building. Happy Friday, y'all. Get her done. Get her done. You know what's funny about that? The Get Her Done. Did y'all ever watch? What was the show? What's the show with the real cool guy? He's like a fixer. Y'all know the name of this show. He looks like kind of like British. He's a fixer. He used to keep the bat in the back of his car. It was stationed in New York City. I think they were Irish, matter of fact. They were Irish. What's the name of this show? And he used to always say, just get it done. Just get it done. What's the name of that show? I forget. All right, y'all tell me. All right, Critical Thinking said, okay, maybe 3, not sure, but 37 degrees too cold for this old man. Knock it off, man. You already getting 3. That's dope, just that. Shout out to Unk in the building, Grand Rising. Good morning, everyone. Not to set anyone back, but this morning's topic is going to be something special for everyone to listen to. Thank you once again, all of our worldwide listeners. Unk's giving y'all, he's telling y'all what it is. He's telling y'all what it is in advance. Oh, and please like and subscribe. Remember to drop comments. Your comments are welcome in action. And this is all up to you. You put in what you get out. Thank you always. Remember, closed mouths don't get fed. You turning on the fan, I'm turning up the heat. No, my fan was on blast. I'm turning it down a little bit just so y'all can hear me. But what's the temperature? Hold on. Let me see the temp in Miami. It was a little brisk this morning. Yeah, it's 65 degrees right now in Miami. This is a cold front. This is a cold front. People said that this weekend everybody's going to have their jackets on. Maybe this is because of it's Halloween and maybe God doesn't want people in Miami dressing in all these scandalous clothes that they typically do let me say, I'm not here to judge, yo. Do your thing. Do your thing. Maybe I am here to judge. I don't know. Shout out to Anthony Romagnoli. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Romagnoli. Anthony Romagnoli. It is a great day. Thanks for the effort to keep the world informed. You know what it is, big bro. We are here. This is what we're here to do, to have discussion. So it's not just me keeping us informed. I'm just opening up the dialogue so we all can learn, all can have some different perspectives, share our experiences, and grow from there. So definitely appreciate you tapping in. It's 36 now there. I got flurries here this morning. Hold up. Hold on. If y'all can understand, the screen's very small. So it says, if it all fails. If it all fails, all right. If it all fails, all right. I got it. I'm figuring it out. If it all fails, said I got flurries this morning. That's crazy. Yeah, winter is around the corner. Winter is coming. None of y'all told me what TV show that was. It's the Irish guy. He's like the cool dude. He's the fixer. I forget. And his brother is Mickey. He has the boxer. He has 2 brothers. One is the boxer. I don't know. Let's get into it. Let's get into the actual show. All right. So what are we talking about today? All right. I wanted to start off the conversation with not an epiphany, but just the thought that I was having as far as culture always superseding religion. But I think I'm going to save that for the end, even though I think it ties into a lot of the conversations that we're getting ready to have. But it's based on, you can have whatever religion that you have. However, culture supersedes that. Culture is how you're actually living, as far as how I see it. Religion, those are the rules that we see are set for things, and religious laws and rules to live by. Hold on, I see. Hold on one second. These ants are back. Forgive me. All right, but the ants, I keep telling them they got to stay out of here, and if they come in, and it is what it is. But let me actually, maybe that was a sign. Let's just get to it. We'll save the culture superseding the religion. But my main thing that I wanted to say with it is that I've really come to grips with the fact that you can have any religion, and you can have a negative culture and use that religion and justify that religion to do very negative things, or you can have a positive culture tied to that religion, and you will live a very positive life. You'll bring positive things to humanity. So hold that there. Let's bookmark that, and then let's get into the actual show, because this is what we got to talk about. There's a lot here. So there's been a lot of responses to Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson's show, and a lot of people are exposing themselves, in my opinion, and it's creating this civil war. So you have the Candace Owens, the Tucker Carlsons, the Dave Smiths, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Thomas Masseys, obviously Tucker on one side, and then you have like the Josh Hammer, the Ben Shapiros, the Mark Levin, the Laura Loomers on the other side. Those are more the Zionists. So you have the actual America First people, and then you have the Zionists, and there's a whole lot of tension because in all actuality, Donald Trump, who seemed to be running on MAGA and America First principles, it seems like he's being controlled by the Zionist side of things. And now he's being called out, or he's been being called out by the actual America First people, the people that are holding him to this America First standards, I should say. So obviously there's this like civil war within the conservative Republican movement, however you want to categorize it. But there's this civil war, and what's, I don't know if it's the word funny or ironic is the right way to say it. This particular topic has been the lone topic that has, I believe, has united the far right, or I guess you would say, and the far left. Now, for different reasons. The conservatives that are on the far right, or I don't even know if this is far, you can't even say far right because I see Mark Levin. The conservatives who are now aligned with some of the Democrats, the conservatives are doing it because they're like, yo, we just don't want to be giving our tax dollars or supporting Israel. It is what it is. The Democrat, when we have to take care of stuff at home, the Democrats, they're looking at it from perhaps maybe moral issues and saying like, hey, you're committing this genocide. This is morally wrong. So it can be for different reasons. And I'm not categorizing all Democrats as having that mindset and all Republicans or conservatives as having the mindset. But it seems that that is the basis of the argument on both sides. So let's get into some of these clips because I want to focus on Nick Fuentes' show that he did last night. And then I want to focus on this interview between Dave Smith or Piers Morgan mediating a debate between Dave Smith and Seth Rogen. Let me first start off with a response that we got from, I believe it's the Heritage Foundation leader, and him speaking up for Tucker Carlson. Let's actually set the conversation here. So a lot of people have been giving their feedback, and I guess people have been saying that the Heritage Foundation, they've been shying away from Tucker and they're getting ready to move away from him based on him interviewing Nick Fuentes. Kevin Roberts, I guess he had other thoughts on that. I guess he was not aware of that. Now, he's the president of the Heritage Foundation. Let's hear his response to it, and then that'll kind of set the tone on the conversation moving forward.
I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. and we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
All right, first and foremost, let me hold off on this for a second. All right, so first and foremost, shout out to Papacito. Thank you very much. I got my 7,000. Hello from Israel. I'm a fan of Nick Fuentes. Dope. And then he wrote, hold on, I want to read what Papacito said. Oh my God. I blessed this channel with an anti-Semitic past. That's not what I'm talking about. That's unexpected, isn't it? So it is and it isn't. Do I think that all Israelis support Bibi Netanyahu in Israel? I wouldn't. Why would you? And based on us having the understanding, I mean, you can tell us a bit more because you're in Israel, but wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, weren't a lot of people in Israel protesting Bibi Netanyahu based on certain things that he's done in the past and what he's continued to do with this genocide? So we're not surprised. Matter of fact, that's the standard. That's what we talk about all the time on this show. You should be the one calling out Bibi Netanyahu in Israel more than us over here, in my opinion. Just like when we talk about policing, the good cops calling out the bad cops, you should be the one addressing it. When we talk about issues in the Black community and Black culture, yes, this is why I'm calling it out. You should be the ones calling out the issues within your own group, especially when you see people in your group doing things that are wrong, like a genocide. So as surprising as it may be, I'm actually not surprised. I actually believe, and this may be, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but there's probably, if you looked at the let's just say Jewish people overall in America compared to Israelis, I believe that if you took the percentage, this is the question that I'm going to ask, and then I'll answer it. What just came to mind is, do you think that there's a higher percentage of people in Israel that disagree with Bibi Netanyahu's doing compared to the Jewish population in America that disagree with Bibi Netanyahu and what Israel's doing? Matter of fact, I'm not going to answer that question. I just want to let it sit there for y'all. Y'all tell me what y'all thoughts are. But that's the first thing that came to mind. And perhaps that may, if we unpack that, that would show, certain aspects of what we are involved in right now with this civil war. And why a lot of people are upset because of this influence that Israel seems to have over America. But let me not spend too much time on that. Let me keep going. Let's see. All right. So obviously hold on, let me pull it back up. With Kevin Roberts, we'll put it in the back right there. Kevin Roberts is getting a lot of feedback or a lot of pushback for what he's saying. And I'm going to show you an example of something that this guy, I don't really know him, and I'm not sure if he's a big name, but this is how I first came across this video. This guy named Jonathan Greenberg. This is what he wrote. He said, "Jews, no one is coming to our rescue. Buy guns, buy ammo, train, carry, do it now." Could you imagine if Nick Fuentes said this? So all these people that are trying to condemn Nick Fuentes for being so violent, for being misogynist, for being racist, for being like Hitler, it's very funny how it's defensive when it's the tribalism of us versus them. When Nick Fuentes says it, because he's the them, he's seen as a terrorist. He's seen as Hitler. But when you make certain comments that are referencing violence, it's, oh, well, we're just defending ourselves. And another thing that I noticed with a lot of people when they say about Nick Fuentes, even with Kevin Roberts, it's almost like you have to say, well, you know, I deplore some of the things that he says, or I disagree with some of the things that he says. Well, I'm pretty sure that you disagree with some of what everybody says. Now, the fact that you have to say you deplore some of the things that he says, why don't you tell us exactly what you deplore that he said? And I'm seeing a lot of people, whether it's Josh Hammer, whether it's Ben Shapiro, whether it's Officer Tatum, all these people like to run around and say that Nick Fuentes has said such horrendous things. But you notice what I never see are videos of him actually saying these things. This was my experience. Everybody said all these crazy things that Nick Fuentes was saying, like, yo, damn, somebody said that? Like, that's horrible. Then when you actually watch it, and perhaps this is the reason why they're not showing the videos of him saying these horrendous things, is because when you actually watch it, you realize that as insulting and as insensitive as it is, he's joking. A lot of these things are said in jokes. And if they're not said in jokes, why would you not play the video of him saying it? Because obviously that would prove your point even more. Just like when Nick Fuentes wanted to expose Josh Hammer, and I showed y'all on the show maybe yesterday or the day before, all the things that Josh Hammer was talking about when it came to Europeans being inherently anti-Semitic. He showed it. Just like I showed y'all what Josh Hammer said yesterday about the foxes need to be neutralized. I showed it to y'all. Why aren't y'all showing Nick Fuentes saying these things? If he said it in a video, why would you not just show it? Wouldn't it be more impactful? And it's because when people see it, they would sit there and be like, yeah, that's a bad joke. I don't believe that. You want us to hate Nick Fuentes like he's Hitler while you're currently committing a genocide and the rooting for it. You got Nikki Haley signing bombs. You got people screaming, give him hell. But Nick Fuentes is the evil person. The propaganda is no longer working. And Kevin Roberts could sit here and say that he deplores some of the things that Nick Fuentes says. He could say that he disagrees with it. A lot of people you're getting ready to see in this conversation between Seth, I forget the guy, Seth and Dave Smith on Piers Morgan, or they're upset with Tucker Carlson because he didn't push back on Nick Fuentes for what he says. Maybe he didn't disagree with what Nick Fuentes was saying. And perhaps what we're seeing is that a whole lot of America on both sides, Democrats and Republicans and everybody else, do not disagree with Nick Fuentes' stance in a lot of these situations. They may say like, yo, he's an asshole. He's insensitive how he says it. I don't like that he says the N-word. They may say all these things, but tell me where the direction of the country is going. And see, for a lot of people that just watch Nick Fuentes clips, I understand how you can say that. And I'm getting ready to play you a part of his show that may change or shift your mindset on a lot of these things. And this is something that I've been calling out in every single review video that I do of Nick Fuentes, because I see it as a problem, because I see him trying to appeal to his base while he's growing in a different direction, but him always feeling like he has to, balance those things out. Now that's on him. He has to be held accountable for the things that he says. But when you see him say some of these things, and it's not as believable as a Mark Levine, or it's not as believable as a Nikki Haley signing a bomb, or it's not believable as what's actually happening with this genocide playing out, perhaps then you'll listen to him a little bit more. Perhaps then you'll get to understand, well, okay, what's his mindset on this? Well, yeah, he said it in a wrong way, but really, he's just pushing for America first. Really, he's actually pushing for people to unite, people that have America mindset first, whether you're Black, whether you're Asian, whether you're whatever else. Now, people may be surprised with me saying that, but we'll get to that clip. We will get to that clip. So I want to move on. let me pull up. I want to start with this interview with Dave Smith, and then so this may be a little bit longer, so y'all got to bear with me. Today is Friday. It's going to be one of those shows, but I want to start off, just allow me to just start off with this interview before we get into Nick's show. I know a lot of people want to see Nick's response and everything, but let's start off. Just trust me on this one. All right, so I want to go to timestamp 2050. Should already have it pulled up. Share this tab instead. Boom. Love it when it's already set up. All right. Yo, hold up, man. Yo, people think they're funny. All right, so I get a lot of these Cam Newton comments too on these videos. I've been seeing them. I don't respond to them, but knock it off. Cam, that's little bruh. Y'all go. I know Cam got a bigger name, more noticeable, but he's younger. So, nah, it's the opposite. But yeah, let's get into it.
First of all, I think this is like ridiculous and kind of sloppy thinking at a certain point. Just to be clear again, there's no evidence that Tucker was trying to mainstream Nick Fuentes. What happened here is Nick Fuentes became mainstream. Like, that's just the reality. And anybody can look at this. Like, this is just looking at numbers. It's not like an opinion. He's about as big as anybody in this world right now, up there with them. And in terms of, no, you cannot deduce. Look, I had a socialist, Ben Burgess, on my podcast years ago, because he wrote this book, and it was called something like, Canceling Comedians While the World Burns. And the book was about how there's all these left-wingers who were caught up in cancel culture at the time, canceling Louis C.K. and all these guys. Look, we still don't have universal health care or universal, all this stuff. And I just interviewed him about the book because I thought it was a really interesting topic. And I didn't argue with him, but you can't deduce from that I believe in socialism. And in fact, what Tucker did on the show was make the point against Jew hatred and make the point against racial collectivism at all, and saying flat out that is just unchristian and that Christians must judge people as individuals, and that it's not a cuck move to say it's not the Jews, that you have to talk out specific. And the truth is, Nick didn't really give him pushback on that. Now, you could say that is Nick trying to moderate his views or something like that, but I don't exactly know why that's a bad thing. I think I'd probably rather people say, yeah, it's not all the Jews. There are different specific people. But to the bigger point here, I think look, when you say, oh, there's these people with conspiracy theories, they're not connecting dots. Again, yes, that's true. It's also prevalent everywhere. Every single day, Mark Levin gets on Twitter and tweets Tucker Carlson. That's what he calls them every single day. What is that other than a ridiculous conspiracy? There's never been a shred of evidence. Laura Loomer, the most disingenuous person on the internet, once produced a document that said that a group in Qatar was trying to facilitate an interview with Tucker Carlson and a Qatari leader. There's no evidence that Tucker Carlson, the man in his 50s with tons of money, started going on the payroll of Qatar. This stuff is everywhere. And, I would just...
I want y'all, I had to stop it very quickly. Pay attention to what Dave Smith is about to do. Dave Smith is a master debater. Pay attention to what he's getting ready to say. All right. Because the guy on the right, Seth, he's saying that he got mad at Tucker, just to give y'all some context, for not pushing back on the things that Nick Fuentes says. He didn't push back. It's not that I have a problem with him interviewing him or I'm trying to gatekeep, censor Nick Fuentes, but Tucker didn't push back. This is the problem. Listen to what Dave Smith is getting ready to do.
Say that when you say, hey, there are certain views, like I find Alex Jones' view on Sandy Hook disgusting. I find Nick Fuentes' views on race disgusting or something like that. Okay, look, if I'm being completely honest, I find your views on Gaza disgusting. But whatever, man, let's still sit down and talk about it, because what else are we going to do? I mean, how many options do we really have here? We can fight, we can go to war, or we can try to argue this like civilized men and see who's more persuaded by our case. And for all you guys, say whatever you will about Nick Fuentes. I've known him over the years. I don't know him super well, but I do know him. And full disclosure, I got to admit, I kind of like him. I disagree with him on a lot of things, and he disagrees with me on a lot of things. One thing I cannot say about him, he is willing to debate. So when you sit here, Seth, and you're like, Tucker should have handled him like this, Tucker should have screamed bigot at him the whole time, why don't you give that a shot? I bet he'd do it. Give it a shot. See how that goes. See who can persuade more people. Well, I actually don't think that's a very effective way of dealing with anyone's ideas.
Why don't you interview him? Don't tell me what you would have done. Don't be on the sideline on the bench talking about you would do better than the starter. When you had an opportunity to start, you have an opportunity to interview Nick Fuentes. You have an opportunity to debate Nick Fuentes. Nick isn't turning down any smoke. Everybody wants to criticize what they would do, what they wouldn't do. Why don't you go do it? Because the reason why a lot of these people won't bring Nick Fuentes on is because it's going to make them look stupid. It's going to contradict a lot of the things that they previously said. A lot of these people that try to make it seem as if they're for America, they're America first. They have America first mindset in any other area except Israel when it comes to Israel. Why? I don't know. Nick Fuentes would expose all those things. So all these people that got these things to say, why don't you sit down and have a conversation with them? Because you're scared.
All right. Well, a couple of things there. First, Nick is becoming more mainstream, and the question is whether or not that's a good thing. You know, I would argue that it's a bad thing that Nick is becoming more mainstream, and that any roadblocks you can put in his path. I think gatekeeping is a good thing. I think it's what keeps movements healthy. It's you keep the rot out, you keep the bad ideas at bay. You know, and I think that Tucker has a moral responsibility to do that in the position that he's in. So I would disagree with you that, you know, it's just fine that Nick is becoming. You may like Nick Fuentes. I think his ideas are absolutely terrible. I don't want to see them adopted, and I certainly don't believe that he's being honest when he tries to moderate and present himself as more reasonable than he is. I think that's a ploy. I think it's a game that he's playing, and to act like that's a good thing, no, it's actually a really bad thing that we're letting him get away with that instead of challenging that. You have to actually hold his feet to the fire and say, these are the things that you've actually said. Do you stand by them or not? Tucker wasn't willing to do that. So I think that's very problematic.
Okay, but again, so I'm not exactly clear, because before you said he should be having this conversation. Now you're saying he has an obligation to gatekeep and he shouldn't be having this conversation. I mean, look, the way I look at it is
no, the
like
gatekeeping is done with the conversation. The conversation is the gatekeeping. Right. The conversation is saying, look, these your ideas are bad.
But look, yeah, but but I think your ideas are bad. So you don't get to dictate how everybody else has conversations. Sorry, you don't have that authority over other people. So you don't get to do it.
Yeah,
but
I'm not claiming to have the authority to dictate
right, but so
what
you can,
I'm not saying Tucker had no obligation. Tucker has no obligation to do anything that I want him to do. I'm saying I believe there's a way things should be. I'm saying it shouldn't be the case that Nick should be mainstreamed. If I was in Tucker's shoes, I would have held his feet to the fire. I'm asking the question, why didn't he? I would like to know why he didn't. I think that I think that we all have a moral obligation to push back on bad ideas. Now, you think my ideas are bad, so yeah, you're going to want to challenge them. Well, I think that it would have been a responsible thing and a good thing for the conservative movement if someone as prominent as Tucker.
Yo, you notice how this is, once again, didn't we talk about this the other day? This a good thing for the conservative movement, as if these people are the main voices in the conservative movement. Like, do we forget what got Trump in this position? It wasn't people like this guy. What got Trump to win the election? It was the Theo Vons. It was the Joe Rogans. It was the Candace Owens. It was the Tucker Carlsons. It was the Dave Smiths. It wasn't these people. It wasn't the Ben Shapiros. It wasn't the Josh Hammers. And now they want to speak, now that Trump won, using people like Dave Smith and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and whoever else I'm naming, right? The Myrons. Nick Fuentes initially, even though Nick was against Trump, perhaps he saw things a little bit earlier than the rest of us, because this last election, Nick Fuentes was actually against Trump. So for all those people that can't stand Trump, that perhaps may be Democrats, may just have voted for anybody but Trump, you may not even be aware of that. Nick Fuentes was not really, he decided not to rock with Trump on this last election because of policies. He wasn't a fan. He wasn't just rooting for a political party. He didn't feel like he was a slave to a political party. He has certain principles that he stands by. He saw Trump moving in a direction away from those things, and he decided to not vote. He decided to unite his people around these things and to say, hey, I don't think you should vote either. Hold on. Maya just sent me a message. Did I miss something? No, I think Maya sent me something earlier. Keep up, Maya. All right, let's keep going.
with as large of audience as he has, if he was standing in the way of Nick Fuentes becoming more mainstream. I think that would be a good thing for everybody. And I'm disappointed that it didn't come. Let me just. But he's free.
Hold on, I think I did miss something earlier. Never mind, my apologies. Did I miss hold on. I did miss something earlier. I am humble at 8:38 a.m. on Halloween. All right, so Papacito, real quick before we get back to the video, Papacito wrote, people here basically disagree with him, but not because they care about Palestinians. That's very interesting. So let me ask you this, and you do not have to send another super chat to answer it. But let me keep asking Papacito questions. So he keeps saying, her. I believe in Papacito. People here basically disagree with him. So they're talking about Netanyahu. So Papacito, if you guys are just tuning in, is living in Israel. And he initially wrote a comment saying that he supports Nick Fuentes. So he says people here basically disagree with Netanyahu, but not because they care about Palestinians. So let me ask you this. That's not necessarily surprising at all. I would actually expect that they disagree with it because they don't want their homes turned into a war zone. They don't want more of a flashlight turned on them to say, hold on, let me dig into this Israel situation. Well, how was Israel created? Hold on, what's the beef between Palestine and Israel? If it's not a big deal, if Bibi Netanyahu's not bombing people, then maybe the rest of us wouldn't have looked into it as much. The only reason why I looked into how Israel was created and all these things is based on what has happened ever since October 7th, right? I wasn't looking into it before this. But then when I started looking into it, I'm like, hold up, they just took people's land that was there based on them saying that the Bible said that they're entitled to the land. Like, whoa, that sounds it sounds very convenient. And then you start doing your research, you start doing your due diligence. So if I was living in Israel, I would want people to say like, yo, Bibi, chill. We already stole these people's land. We didn't compensate them. We didn't give them the right to return home. Yeah, maybe you should relax a little bit because you're putting a whole lot of heat on us. And us as Jews, a lot of us, I'm assuming a lot of the people in Israel are Jewish. Us as Jews, we've kind of had a past where it's like, hey, we don't want to risk, having people hate us this much. This is what I would be saying if I'm an Israeli. So I'm not surprised by what you're saying. I don't think that it's because we morally love Palestinians, because if that was the case, you probably would have had an issue with taking their homes and taking their shit, to be totally honest. Let's continue. But appreciate that insight, Papacito, definitely. All right, let's keep going. I think actually we're going to move on to, okay, it already played into the part that I was going to move it to.
Free to do whatever he wants to do.
Okay,
I'm free to criticize him for not handling the interview the way that I think it should have been responsibly handled. I think it was extremely irresponsible.
Okay. Certainly you're free to criticize them. I would say that for all the people, by the way, who are so upset that Candace and Nick Fuentes have become so huge, honestly, dude, talking to guys like you have no one but yourself to blame for that. It's all over the Israel issue, man. And the reason why they got so much support behind them is because they were against this destruction of Gaza. It was just like the most just horrible, inexcusable thing ever. But let me ask you a question, just because I think this is kind of interesting. So you're saying hold on. To push back.
I want to highlight that Dave kind of glossed over it, but I think what we're realizing is that you all created Nick Fuentes. Just like what I just said earlier about shining the light on Israel and us finding out, wait, this is how this really was created. I don't think most Americans really knew the ins and outs of how Israel was created. I don't think that. Americans, we're not even, we are when it comes to us understanding history, geography, different things that have occurred in this world, we are so naive. Our education system, especially when it comes to public school, we don't learn anything. I didn't know where certain states in the United States were on the map. Growing up in Jersey, I'm like, I don't know where Oklahoma is. I don't know. You think I'm going to be aware of how Israel was created? I'm over here celebrating Christopher Columbus. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm thinking that Thanksgiving everything was all good between the pilgrims and the people that were here. We're indoctrinated. So the same way that this was exposed is the same way that you all allowed us you forced Nick Fuentes on us in a lot of ways. And then when you forced him on us because you tried to, for so long, it's almost like that Andrew Tate effect. You keep saying this person is so horrible, this person is so horrible. Then people get curious, and then he becomes the most Googled person in the world. It's the same thing that y'all did with Nick Fuentes. If y'all didn't like Nick Fuentes, perhaps you shouldn't have even censored him. Maybe a better thing would have been to ignore him, but not try to censor him, or maybe even just sit down and have a conversation with him. I don't know. Maybe it's because, like, what do you have to lose from having a conversation with somebody? Are you scared that he's going to change the way that you see things? Or are you scared that he's going to change the way that the people that follow you, that you currently have influence over, look at you?
But okay, certainly you're free to criticize them. You know, I would say that for all the people, by the way, who are so upset that Candace and Nick Fuentes have become so huge, like, honestly, dude, talking to guys like you have no one but yourself to blame for that. It's all over the Israel issue, man. And the reason why they got so much support behind them is because they were against this destruction of Gaza. It was just like the most just horrible, inexcusable thing ever. But let me ask you a question, just because I think this is kind of interesting. So you're saying you have a responsibility to push back against bad ideas. Just the other week, I know both you and your partner over at Babylon Bee, Joel, I believe is his name. You got very upset with. Yes. So you got very upset with me because I said, when I basically had a tweet where I said something like, look, it's good the ceasefire happened. Less people are dying. There are hostage swaps taking place. That's great. Let's hope, for the best. Something like that. And both of you guys got very upset at me for using the term hostage swaps. And Joel said, you're describing innocent Israelis being held he said, on the Gaza side, it's nothing but innocent people. On the Israeli side, it's all terrorists. Now, I pointed out that 1,700 of the people that Israel released were just people that they grabbed and were holding without charges, something Israel's been doing for many, many decades. He referred to all of them as terrorists with no shred of evidence. Like, that to me sounds pretty bigoted, to just assume that every Palestinian is automatically a terrorist. Did you push back on that at all when your colleague, your partner said that? See, my point is, look, obviously it's a rhetorical question. You didn't. But the point is that, yes, it's easy to say.
Yo, Dave Smith is a legend, bro. Did you hear what he did? Seth is like, bro, it's a rhetorical question. Obviously you didn't. Like, and just kept it moving.
My point is, look, obviously it's a rhetorical question. You didn't. But the point is that, yes, it's easy to say you should push back against bad ideas. But when you start from the starting point that your ideas are correct. Look, I think Nick has some bad ideas. I think you supporting Israel's destruction of Gaza is substantially worse than any of his views. And so, him and Tucker had a falling out. This was them coming back together.
I support the right of Israel to defend itself against terrorism. And, they're at war with people who want to see them wiped off the map. I think there's a distinction between, genocide.
You mean like how Israel wiped the Palestinians off the map to create Israel? I'm just trying to be clear. Like, I just want to be clear on things, so therefore I can have a proper, response to the situation. This is where the elitism, this is why tribalism is so terrible. And how it can be used in the worst ways. How can somebody sit here and say that call Palestinians, first off, it's Hamas, it's not even a real army, but it's like, okay, you're saying that Palestinians, Hamas, that they're terrorists, right? So you think that Israel has the right to defend themselves against terrorists because they're trying to wipe them off the face of the earth or whatever he just said. Well, didn't y'all wipe them off the face of their homes? Like, didn't y'all remove them? Didn't y'all ethnically cleanse? And now y'all are committing a genocide? Didn't y'all not allow them the right to return home, which was international law? Didn't you not compensate them for the homes and land that you took from them that you're still living on? Like, can you imagine having the nerve while you're still living on people's land that you stole from them to create your own state because you think that because a book says it 3,000 years ago or something that you're attached to it? Now that's goofy. It's ridiculous. And the reason why, and people may get offended by me saying that it's goofy, let somebody do that to your home. Let somebody come to your home with a deed or just something that is written in their scripture that says people like them used to occupy this particular land. Matter of fact, if you guys want to, if you're living in America and you're pro-Israel and you're Zionist, why don't you give up your home? Because it's clear that you weren't the indigenous people here. So if you care so much about the indigenous people occupying a land, then why don't you give up your home? I'm in Miami Beach. There's a whole lot of Zionists that live here in this area in some beautiful homes. I would love to move. Hand over your keys. My family is indigenous to here. My family's indigenous. Hand over them keys. Oh, so it only works when it's serving your purpose, but not when you're giving up something. See, you don't really stand on these principles. You're not really biblical. You're not really into your religion. You're just using your religion to manipulate people into getting your agenda done. You care so much about indigenous people living in this land, and if you feel that they're entitled to it, they have the right to exist, then I have the right to take your home then, because my people are indigenous here. The Ramapo Lenape, they're indigenous here. I don't think a lot of people would be willing to give up their cribs.
Which I think is an inaccurate term.
Hold
for
on,
what's being done.
Let me get this. Shout out to Halus. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Good morning, Mr. OG CEO. I like the way that sounds. Let's keep it moving. Appreciate you as always. I'm telling y'all, every single support, every bit of support that y'all give, I'm telling you, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. Can't y'all see my confidence growing? Every time y'all support, whether it's with a like, whether it's with a view, whether it's with a dollar amount, my confidence builds. I feel like I can let him hang a little bit more. All right. So I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be my true self, right? And maximize my potential. All right, let's keep it moving.
Just warfare, the effort that's been made to try to reduce civilian casualties has been significant. There's standards that are applied to Israel that aren't applied to anybody else in these things. I would distinguish between the hostages that were taken on October 7th and the prisoners that Israel is holding. We can have that's not really the topic of this conversation, but we disagree about what the bad ideas are. Though. We did no, it's not, because what we're talking about is that we all have our own view of what the bad ideas are. We all have the freedom to engage in a discussion about that. That's what the free marketplace of ideas is. It's where the good and the bad clash, right? Where we both voice our own opinion about what that is and try to hash that out and try to arrive at the truth. Those are healthy conversations. I'm not calling for an end to any of those conversations. My criticism of Tucker Carlson, for example, is a contribution to the discussion, not an attempt to end the discussion. And I don't appreciate it being characterized as censorship by everybody who's saying that I'm calling for censorship. That's the last thing I'm calling for.
No, I wasn't saying you're calling for censorship. I'm just making the point. Sure, go ahead.
I think that's where we're going to leave that interview. Dope interview. Go check it out. I think somebody I already highlighted one of the comments. Dave Smith destroyed him in this interview, but it's still worth watching. Still worth watching. So appreciate Bubblegum Gun. To be pro-Zionist is to be anti-American. Let me process that. To be pro-Zionist is to be anti-American. I don't know if I see it exactly that way. I don't know if I see it that way. To be pro-Zionist, because you could be Zionist and think that Israel has the right to exist and Israel has the right to take Palestinian stuff, the land, and create their own state. You can believe that, but I don't think that it necessarily means that you're anti-American. Where I think the anti-American combo comes in is when you realize that how many resources that we are giving away to Israel in the support of the things that they're doing in that region, which are putting us at risk, putting us at harm, and draining our already terrible economy, adding to our debt, creating certain advantages for one country while other countries are looking at us, hating us, just like Osama bin Laden wrote in his letter to America for the reason why they decided to fly planes into the the Twin Towers. So I think that it goes a little bit beyond, like, I don't agree with Zionism. Like, I don't agree with the concept of it, but I don't just from that standpoint think that it's anti-American. I think that a lot of these people are anti-American because they take it a lot further than that, because they're okay with Americans supporting Israel in different ways. Because let's be honest, if America was not supporting Israel, Israel wouldn't exist. Iran would unleash on Israel. All of those countries would get together and stand up for the Palestinians. The only reason why they don't is because of big bro, America. Just my opinion, though. Just my opinion. But definitely appreciate the contribution, appreciate the support. Like I said, it goes a long, long way. All right. What a critical thinking, right? 100 years, Israel has suckled American teeth and is still not strong enough to stand on its own, so it shouldn't stay, in my opinion. I have heard that argument. If something can't stand on its own, well, what did Nick Fuentes say? Talking about, I don't mean to laugh, but it was funny. The way he said it, whatever, I don't have to justify that. But what did Nick Fuentes say when he said, yo, it's not your gold if you can't protect it? Yeah. He said, it's not your gold if you can't protect it. Yeah. So let's move on. All right, now we're moving on. So where all my groypers at? So for all the groypers, we're getting ready to get into Nick's interview. I just want to make sure that there's not another video that I want to play right before that. But yeah. All right, real quick. All right, so before we play Nick's video, I just want to play y'all this quick. This will be like a little interlude, 20-second interlude. So Matt Walsh is miserable. Matt Walsh, we need to send out the blink twice if you're in trouble. Listen, Matt Walsh is getting ready to be off of Daily Wire. That's my prediction. So just I'm not gonna talk about the context. I just want y'all to see this clip very quickly. And tell me what your thoughts are. This is just funny. And then we're getting right into Nick's show yesterday. All right. So just bear with me for 20 seconds. Where are we here?
Hey, I've done a terrible job here with my
Look at Matt Walsh's face the entire time.
Hey, I've done a terrible job here with my Jew propaganda outfit, where apparently I hire and am involved in hiring only Catholics.
You have the
Literally
space
only
lasers.
Catholics.
Yeah.
It's like Knowles and Walsh and Isabel and you, Matt. I don't know what's either it's an unstoppable force or I'm really bad at my job, and it could be both. I mean, it could be both of those things actually.
Matt Walsh at this point is realizing he needs to get out of there. He's thinking about in his mind, how can I figure out a way to remove myself from Daily Wire? I'm tired of feeling like I can't speak my mind. I'm tired of feeling like I can't be the true American that I claim to be. This is what's happening in Matt Walsh's mind. Matt Walsh, I don't know if he's discussed it on his show, but I haven't seen him tweet or send an X post out about anything related to Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. That interview. I have not seen anything. Do we think that Matt Walsh doesn't want to talk about this? Do we think that Matt Walsh is like that little kid who's stuck in the house because his parents won't let him go outside and play with all the kids in the neighborhood? And all the kids in the neighborhood, they're having so much fun outside, and Matt Walsh is just sitting looking outside the window like trying to convince himself why being in the house is better, knowing that he want to go outside with the kids and play. This is what's happening, but let's move on. Let's move on. We already got Nick's pulled up. Hey, free Matt Walsh. That's the energy. All right, so I think I want to go in reverse order. So I want to play a clip and then go back to the beginning. Let me go to 1705. This is what I was talking about with you all. That maybe, I don't know if you'll be surprised. You may not be surprised because you've heard us have this conversation before, but this is around the time where it starts. So bear with me a little bit.
And by the way,
oh, and please do me a favor. Can you like, and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn your notifications on? Because like Big Bro Robert says, don't let Google decide what you watch. Turn your notifications on. All right, let's go.
I don't care what color you are. I know maybe that's going to be controversial on my side. But seriously.
Wait, Nick Fuentes said what? Did I hear that correctly?
Get some backbone. Get the courage of your convictions. If you're out there, and by the way, I don't care what color you are. I know maybe that's going to be controversial on my side. But seriously, if you have citizenship, if you were born in this country, this is your birthright. This is our lives. This is our rights. This is our heritage. It's our tax dollars. It's our government. It's our military. This is our country. This is our empire.
And this is why they are scared to death of Nick Fuentes. This is the voice of the majority of Americans, in my opinion. This is the voice of how a lot of people, matter of fact, this may be the only thing that like people across the entire spectrum, radical right, radical left, radical up, radical down, whatever it may be, wherever it may be, can agree on. This is what's uniting the country in a lot of ways. And this is what people are scared of. This is what JD Vance now has to pander to. JD Vance just hosted Turning Point USA, right? Just hosted Turning Point USA. And by the way, JD Vance is one of the most impressive politicians of my lifetime, in my opinion. You know how people used to say how skilled Bill Clinton was, or even Barack Obama in a lot of ways as an orator, or even Trump, how he's engaging? JD Vance is different. And that can be, that may be positive or negative. I'm not saying it. I'm saying his skill, his talent. JD Vance got up there and took questions from college students. The vice president of the United States of America took questions from college students back to back, not only that he had no idea what they were getting ready to ask. That shows a lot of courage, in my opinion. I don't know a lot of politicians that would do that. Could you imagine Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? No, let me stop. I'm just joking. Could you imagine anybody doing that? I could imagine Trump doing it, but I'm not sure that it would go well. I'm not sure about that. But JD Vance, what was I getting ready to say about JD? I may have just forgot what I was going to say about JD. Oh, but JD Vance, he's now having to pander to this audience, to Nick's audience. See, Nick demonstrated, and I believe he talks about this. I don't know if he's talking about in this clip, how important it was for him to demonstrate that he would not vote for Trump. Because what it did was it showed that I'm willing to have you lose if you don't act right and align with the principles that I want and my people are aligned on. It reminds me of a conversation that I've had plenty of times with Black people when it comes to who we're voting for. And I didn't vote before this last election. I didn't vote the previous two elections. And it was because I'm like, nah. I remember the first time that I didn't vote, it was when Trump beat Hillary. And I remember the next day, and my dad, if my dad's listening, what's that show that you used to watch? I forget, on NPR. I always get the name wrong. But I remember listening to this show. I was heading across the Tappan Zee or the Cuomo Bridge, and they were talking about the election, and they weren't focused on the people that voted for Hillary. They weren't focused on the people that voted for Trump. They were focused on the people that typically vote Democrat, but did not vote that election. See, people think that to be counted, that they have to vote for something. But perhaps you have more power in showing people that you will not vote for them unless they align and prove that they will carry out the things that they're campaigning on, all these promises that they're making. Well, let's look back. First, let's follow the money. Does it make sense as far as the people that you're taking money from, that you're going to do A, B, and C that you're telling us that you're going to do? Do you have a history of doing A, B, and C that you're going to tell us that So therefore, when you don't vote, in the conversation I'm talking about that I've had with plenty of Black people in America, well, you're just not going to get enough people to go on, to get on board with that and to not vote. Why? Oh, because you're convinced that your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. Okay. What a wasted death, in my opinion, if you just leave it there. No, our ancestors did not die for us to have the right to vote. They died for us to have our votes count. And when you continue to vote for people that promise you all of these things, that never deliver on anything, that not only never deliver on anything, but they're solely responsible, and I'm talking about the Democrats, they're solely responsible for putting implementing some of the policies that have destroyed you and your family's lives the most, and you continue to vote for them. Is that what you think that your ancestors had died for? The right for you to vote? How lazy of you. That's the you sounded like us. I wasn't sure if I was going to say you or us. How lazy of us to think that our ancestors died for us to have the right to vote, and that all we think that we need to do to freedom fight is just to go cast a ballot. No, maybe you need to make some of those difficult decisions to say, you know what, maybe we need to take a step back now, so therefore we can take a few steps forward when the time is right. But see, everybody's scared to do what Nick did. Everybody's scared to say, you know what, you think that it's going to hurt me? Okay, I'm willing to have things be rough for a few years, just to prove to you moving forward that you're no longer going to be able to just run game on me and think that I'm just going to continue to vote for you blindly, even though you're not delivering. So that's why when JD Vance goes to Israel, he goes to the church instead of kissing the wall. You think that's accidental, or do you think that that's because of the huge following that Nick Fuentes has, the huge following that Tucker Carlson has, which is a lot of these young kids that are now putting their Christian values first and questioning, why are we doing all these things for Israel if we're living in America? Why is Ted Cruz, a senator, coming out saying that he ran for senator or Congress? He ran for Congress because he wanted to protect Israel. Like, what does that have to do? Why is a Christian saying these things? It's not about America. It's not prioritizing the country. It's not even the religion that you're a part of. Why are all these things happening? And Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and a lot of other people are bringing about these questions that have these young kids thinking. So now if JD Vance wants to run in 2028, he's going to be getting the same questions that Charlie Kirk was getting, the same frustrations that Charlie Kirk was having, because Charlie Kirk saw the American people moving in a different direction on this sole topic of Israel. That's why Charlie Kirk was frustrated. I don't think that Charlie Kirk just had some moral awakening that, oh my God, they're committing a genocide against our fellow humans, Palestinians. I don't think that that's what he was feeling. I think that he was just frustrated because the propaganda was no longer working. The indoctrination was not hitting the same. People were asking questions. People were seeing things clearer. Now JD Vance has to pander to Nick Fuentes' audience. That's what's happening if you want their vote. JD Vance is getting questions asked to him. How are you America first, but then supporting Israel, doing all these things? JD Vance now has to answer those difficult questions that Charlie Kirk was getting frustrated with having to continuously answer. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Hold on. 17, we're at 1732. I may go back. Let me actually now. Well, let me let him finish his thought.
It's our tax dollars. It's our government. It's our military. This is our country. This is our empire. I'll unite with anybody who proclaims America first above all other countries, including and especially Israel. And they're on the other side of this one, and they're wrong. They need to be put back in their place. Anybody who says that America should come second needs to be reminded your place is number 2. America's number 1. Anything else, it's not even number 2. It's number 100. It's America first, second, third, fourth, fifth. That's what we're about. Anyway, so we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk tonight about All
right, so let me move now to the beginning timestamps that I have. Where Nick's now going to talk. So that Heritage Foundation, the what was put up earlier that I showed y'all, I guess I should have waited to show it. But Nick's going to respond to the Heritage Foundation as well as some other people responding and where he sees the tone of things moving politically. So let's take a look at this.
Backlash. So first, Tucker Carlson was canceled. Heritage Foundation, like I said, a very important institution, stood up for Tucker. And for that, now the president of Heritage is being canceled. And go on Twitter, look up the statement, look at the quote tweets. These people are unhinged. They have lost their minds. They're psychotic. And this is an intractable difference. This is irreconcilable. This is a schism. And I'll tell you why. Because 90% of Americans, 90% of conservatives will watch that video and they will agree with every single word. Every single word. It is not controversial in the least. It is not objectionable, and it's not wrong. That's 90% of Republicans. That's the base. The Christians, the conservatives, the voters, they will watch this video, and not only will they find it uncontroversial, they'll support it. They'll say it's about time somebody said this. And he's right. 90% of people love Tucker. And 90% of people watch that interview, and maybe they don't like me, and maybe they don't like everything I said, but they didn't find it to be a world-ending event. A lot of people liked it. Some people disagreed with parts of it. We're all going to live. People love Tucker. They love the interview. At worst, they didn't mind it. And as far as the statement is concerned, they like the statement. They don't want Tucker to be kicked out of the movement anytime soon. That being said, on the other side, we have the 2%. The 2% that think everything is about them. The world revolves around them. The world turns on an axis which is centered in Israel. The Holocaust Remembrance Day is the holiday that anchors the year. For them, the Hebrew Bible is at the center of all of Western civilization, not Rome, not Greece, not the gospel, not the crucifix, not the church, not the Enlightenment. No, it's the book of Moses alone and the Talmud. And the 2%, well, they saw a completely different video. For them, this was literally another Holocaust. Go look on Twitter. Tell me I'm exaggerating. The 2%, the $7,000 club, they saw this video, and where everybody else said it's totally fine and we agree with it, they literally think this is the beginning of the next Holocaust. They're saying it's getting so bad, it's a nightmare, it's happening so fast. They're ruthlessly attacking heritage, its president, Tucker, me, screaming about Nazis, about Muslims, about Qataris, about the hysterics, the drama, the paranoia. And I have never felt more alienated from those people than I do right now. Never, ever. And I think everybody else feels the same way. I think for the first time, me and the whole conservative movement are on the same page. How did that happen? And I'm hard to like. I'm not a very nice guy, and I have a dark sense of humor. I'm provocative. I got something to say about everybody. I'm a pretty difficult guy to like, and arguably people could say I'm pretty radical. But today, I think 90% of the conservative movement is with me. If you have to pick between the Josh Hammers, the Andrew Clavins, the Seth Dillons, this crowd, the Mark Levins, or the Nick Fuenteses, the Tucker Carlsons, which side are you on? I think today everybody's on the side of Tucker and Nick Fuentes. And it's not even close. And that's not out of hate. That's not out of cruelty or resentment or envy. It's out of common sense. And so we'll talk about the video tonight. We'll talk about the reaction. We'll talk about all this stuff. It's just absolutely mind-blowing.
All right, so I want to move just to one last clip. I'm sorry I'm moving a little bit fast, but I want to just get the timestamps to all y'all as soon as possible, because I know that y'all got it. You know, you got a full day ahead of y'all, so let's get to it.
Virtue in hatred, in hating Palestinians. Randy Fine, an elected representative endorsed by Trump, said it's funny when Palestinian children are starved to death. They say there's no innocence. They say that the children and the women are not innocent. They deserve to die too. They say, give them hell, kill them all. Transfer's not a dirty word. Remove the population. These are the people? They made fun of Aaron Bushnell. Remember the liberal activist that self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy? They laughed at him. They mocked him. When Greta Thunberg led the convoy to Palestine, they said they should shoot her with a missile or torture her. These are the people that want to turn around now and say, oy vey, your show is so hateful. You're a horrible person. You're vitriol. Save it. No one's buying it anymore. Spare us the emotional blackmail. Spare us the gaslighting, the guilt tripping. No one's buying it anymore. No one's playing that anymore. This is about whether we, the people, will regain control over our government. It's about whether we're going to be America first or Israel first. That is what this is about. That is always what this has been about. Now they hide behind Donald Trump. And they say they're splitting apart the MAGA movement. They were all never Trump in 2016 because Trump said America first. And now that Trump sold out to Miriam Adelson, now they want to run and hide behind him and say, you're not MAGA if you don't support Israel. Let's not forget where we came from here. So we'll get into all that, but I just wanted to say at the outset, let's not forget, don't be mistaken. Don't let them deflate you. Don't let them gaslight you. Let it wash over you. When they tell you we're hateful, we're monsters, never forget who you're dealing with. They lie. You know, Josh Hammer's going to get on a show and talk about their filth. They're filth and I hate them and Palestinians have to be destroyed. And then they want to turn around and say, you're the bad guy. Let's just cut the shit, pal. It's whether we're going to have America first or Israel first. And we all know what side you're on.
Yeah. This is self-inflicted, in my opinion. This is self-inflicted, in my opinion. Like there's no, like, people are not stupid. People are not stupid. People are gullible. The mob is fickle. We understand that. But it gets to a certain point where even people are going to wake up and realize, you know, like, okay, this isn't making any sense. Like, aren't these supposed to be the people with religious principles? How are they now okay with justifying doing certain things to another population of people just because it's us versus them? And then you start looking into the history of it. This is self-inflicted. Americans, deep down, we grow up with the mindset to support Israel. We are indoctrinated from a young age to see Israel is good, Palestine is bad. Or I don't even know if we see it that way. We just see Israel as the victims in that region, the poor Israelis. Everybody wants to attack them. This is what we grow up learning. The Holocaust. We grow up learning these things. I don't know why we learn about the Holocaust, but then we don't learn about Palestinians being kicked off their land. I don't know why. Just give us the full story. But it's going to come out more and more. And I think I said it on a show earlier this week. Maybe I said it last week. I'm actually concerned. I'm not concerned with a war, with a regime change, let's say with like Venezuela or Argentina. I don't like what's going on there, but I'm not concerned necessarily that a war could potentially break out that impacts us. America is going to be the bully. And, I don't think there'll be much pushback. Maybe that's a naive statement. I don't know. Now, you're still putting out negative energy. So eventually that negative energy is going somewhere and likely to come back this way eventually. I don't know what that will look like. But when it comes to the real war that I see that's brewing, based on, you look at Nick Fuentes, you look at some of the followers, you talk to some of these young kids in their 20s to 30s, they're not feeling the same way that our generation, the baby boomer generation, they're not rocking with Israel the same way as far as the dynamics of the relationship. They're not scared to call out certain things when it comes to Israel, when it comes to Jewish culture and certain people in the Jewish community. They're not scared. We grew up nervous about those things. We grew up scared to speak on those things, to the point where we were scared to be called an anti-Semite, because once you get labeled as that, you're canceled. We've seen it happen over and over. You've seen a lot of, perhaps a lot of your favorite people that you look on YouTube. The reason why they're demonetized is because they were speaking about these things, some of them well before October 7th. This is a new generation. It's to the point now where you call somebody an anti-Semite, you try to cancel somebody, good luck. You may make them even bigger than they currently are. And you may hurt your own self. You may hurt your own business. You may hurt your own platform. So it is not, I don't believe in any group of people being special, being chosen, or receiving some type of special treatment that protects them in ways that other people are not protected. I don't see that as America. And I'm very happy that Nick Fuentes, and maybe I should go back to it. Let me actually play this again. Let me play this again, because just like I know that they're going to continuously say that Nick Fuentes said this, he's a racist, he's all these things. Let's remind ourselves one more time. Let's remind ourselves.
Get some backbone. Get the courage of your convictions. If you're out there, and by the way, I don't care what color you are. I know maybe that's going to be controversial on my side.
Just wanted to leave it there. But the war, in my opinion, the war that is potentially brewing, that I hope we can avoid. Y'all know I'm not for war. I'm not for violence. But this potential war is between America and Israel, in my opinion. That's the biggest threat to what could destroy humanity or harm humanity in a major way. None of those, as much as what Osama bin Laden and them did, which was obviously terrible and impacted America in those ways, it didn't threaten to, it wasn't like it destroyed a whole city or knocked out a whole state, destroyed a whole population of people. I don't think that a lot of the Arab countries in those regions are willing to go against America on a certain level. Now, this may change. But based on the entitlement that America is responsible for giving Israel, I think that could potentially lead to some big problems. And something that we may need to also be aware of is, if I'm in Israel, I'm thinking of Israel first, right? If I'm an Israeli citizen, if I'm Bibi Netanyahu, I'm thinking of Israel first. So given that Ted Cruz told us that Israel spies on us, that they go out of their way to, there's been certain stories that come out where they bug certain things with Trump and certain. Do we not think that Israel has a backup plan? Do we not think that Israel could be reaching out to another world power and figuring out, hey, Americans are moving in a bit of a different direction. Maybe we need to align ourselves with another country just in case something breaks out? Do we not think that that's a possibility? Are we being a bit naive to think that we're not, or they're not thinking a few steps ahead while playing this game of chess? I don't know. I said it. Somebody, oh no, I caught myself. I really don't know. Dr. King, somebody got me. If somebody called it out before, y'all would. I caught myself. All right. Let me get to a couple of these comments, and then we'll get to the best part of the show that I need y'all to like. Can we get it over 100 real quick? Just to make all of our Halloweens and weekends amazing? Get it over 100. All you got to do is hit the like button. Maybe stop throwing around the word evil so much, like being called racist. It's lost its bite. It has. It really has. We over 100. Yo, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all, man, so much. I saw Big Bro Steve write a message. Most people want to go to work every morning. I can't see there being another civil war in the U.S. Now, maybe if there was a civil war Zoom call, there you go. Yeah, maybe it'll just be over Zoom. And matter of fact, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Matter of fact, I am 100% on board. If let's do this civil war, let's have it on YouTube, nothing violent, just a debate. We can schedule it like the great debaters, right? We can have Denzel, he can be the moderator. You know, we can bring it back to just the great debates. That's what we'll address things with. No more wars, no more fighting, no more senseless violence, because the more beef between countries, it's the actual people, the most vulnerable people in a lot of ways in that country that are going to be the ones risking their lives. So none of that, none of that, none of that. All right. Let me, is it okay if we get to wars and fought with guns anymore? That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. It's fought with drones, right? I don't know. Civil War Zoom call. That's what we rocking with. Hey, Steve, that's Civil War. That's what we finna call it. We finna host some panels and call them the Civil Wars. All right. Most important part of the show, especially when we have these heavy, heavy topics. I want to remind all of us, that although we are critical of certain people, certain nations, certain groups, however they're identified, all of these people, I'm speaking for me, everybody, I see everybody as my brother and my sister. All right. So like I said yesterday, I may be calling out Israel right now. I may be calling out Bibi Netanyahu. I may be calling out this group. I may be asking the Jewish population, help us speak out on this situation. We have a huge issue with humanity. And Israel, I'm sure, will care more about, or I would think, care more about your opinion than perhaps people that are not Jewish. That's why that's the call out. You know what I mean? That's why I think that there's value in a particular group, the good cops calling out the bad cops. So y'all are all my brothers and sisters. However, with a brother and sister, sometimes you got to have those difficult conversations that nobody's looking forward to, that you probably don't want to have the conversation as much as the person that you feel that you need to have the conversation with. You're bugging. We got to figure this out. It's not right what you're doing. It's wrong. It violates God's principles. I don't care which religion, pick one. It violates the principles there. All right. And that goes back to what I initially wanted to start the conversation off with. Culture, in a lot of ways, is superseding religion. All right. If we can have a positive culture that it has a foundational principle of treating others the way that we want to be treated. Right. This is something that Nick Fuentes said the other day on his show. Matter of fact, let me pull it up. Matter of fact, I'll just, paraphrase it. He was saying that it's Christ-like to treat others the way that you'd like to be treated. That's what he was saying. He said it in different ways, but it's to put others before yourself. I think that's what he said. If we have the right culture, the right perspective, the right mindset on a lot of these things, and don't get caught up in this tribalism of us versus them, then it's going to help out humanity overall. All right. Our goal is very simple. We want peace. We want to be able to live in harmony. Who doesn't want to live in harmony with each other? It's more fun. Who wants to just wake up angry and want to go to war with people? I don't want to do that. It costs money. Like, people work hard. People want to enjoy their life. Yes, people don't want to be working hard and then seeing their money go towards another country when we have all these issues here and that country is living better in a lot of ways than what we're living here. Yes, we don't want to see our money go towards, a genocide that's being committed, that regardless of your opinion on it, we have our opinion on it. I have my opinion on it. I think it's a genocide. You can't try to cancel people, or you can do what you want, but this is my opinion. I don't think you should be trying to cancel people just because they have a difference of opinion. Especially when their difference of opinion is trying to call you out to prevent a genocide from occurring. To get back to our godliness, the godly principles that we claim to subscribe to. So, most important part of the show. Shout out to I like this right here. Arc Tesseract. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. But I can't live with hate in my heart. Yeah, I can't live with hate in my heart. And Catalypse skills. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's already tribal. Which side? I'm choosing God. That's what side I'm choosing. If you ask me what side I'm on God's side. I'm on God's side. I'm on the Christian side. I'm on the Muslim side. I'm on the Jewish side. I'm on the Buddhist side. I'm on the Stoic side. It's all the same side. If God created all of us, it's all the same side. I'm on the side that allows me to treat everybody else the way that I want to be treated. That's what side I'm on. So you can call it good versus evil, positive versus negative. I just want to treat others the way that I want to be treated and move in a direction of us achieving this greater peace and us living in harmony. That's what side I'm on. That's what side I'm on. All right. So let's the most important part of the show, we have our box breathing. All right. Our box breathing exercise, where every inhale, we're inhaling all the positive energy. Every exhale, we're getting rid of that negative energy. All right. Those built up frustrations that may be in a lot of us that make us see the world in a particular way, that may make us say, distance ourselves from certain principles that we typically would align with and live by. All right. So the box breathing exercise, it's going to be a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. And we're going to go through it 4 times. All right. Every inhale, positive energy. Every exhale, get rid of that negative limiting energy. All right. Shall we begin? All right. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place. All right. I'm gonna walk you through it. We're starting on our inhale. Remember, feel the positive energy going into your system. All right. Mind, body, soul, all that good stuff. Yeah. All right. Ready? Begin. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Last series. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. All right, we're going to go through it one more time. Inhale. Hold. And I want you to be thinking about on this last negative exhale, getting rid of all that negative energy, all of it. All right, ready? Hold. All right, open up them eyes. Open up those eyes. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Do me a favor, like on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn your notifications on, because like big bro Robert always says, don't let Google decide, all right? We create our own algorithm. All right, so y'all know what we come here to do, elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the leaders that we know are needed now more than ever, being the change that we want to see in the world, leading by example first and foremost, all right? Also raising our standards to grow into the people that we need to grow into, all right? Develop the tools, develop the skills, develop the perseverance, grow into a person that you know can confidently approach these monumental tasks and challenges that we know that we may be up against in life. Whether it's a political issue, you know, something like this, or, you know, you feel like you're fighting the good fight, or maybe it's just day to day, maybe it's dealing with certain mental health aspects, whatever it is. All right, let's continue to grow. Let's continue to develop. And if you need some help, then, hey, this is what we got a network for. This is what we got a group for. You know, somebody commented yesterday and said, like, hey, man, do you guys do any coaching? And I was, you know, having a conversation about it later yesterday with Dr. King. And the conversation was centered around, absolutely, we do coaching, you know, and, you know, we've had those conversations before, but it's not based on me doing any coaching. You know, I may be able to help in a particular area, but one of the things that I'm blessed the most to have is such an amazing support system and an amazing network of people that I feel are very good, kind-hearted people, very principled people. So therefore, you know, you may reach out to me, you know, say you need some help in a particular area. I may not be able to help you, but, you know, boom, this is our team. You know, I think that it would be great to connect you to this person, to that person. So that is something that we definitely do. And hopefully if we can help you, then, you know, that'll be a positive thing. But that is the benefit of having a family, having a village, having a network. That is the benefit of all these things. I assume that's why a lot of us come in and enjoy some of these conversations. And maybe they're not all enjoyable, but they help us grow. They force us to contemplate some of the more difficult situations that may come up in our life, or some of the more difficult questions that are going through our minds at different times. So I say all that to say strength and honor, onward and upward. Understand that we are in this thing together. All right. We're in this thing together. Don't let anybody convince you. We are in this thing together. So whether we're criticizing, like I said before, it doesn't matter. We're all brothers and sisters here. We're all brothers and sisters here. We're blessed to be here at the same time with each other. It's a very, you could call it a coincidence. You can call it faith. You can call it whatever you want, but we're here and we're here together at this moment. Why not make the most of it? Why not leave this place in a better place than the one we inherited? All right. So y'all know what I mean when I say get to the bag. For the people that don't know what I mean when I say get to the bag, it's not about money, or at least it ain't just about money. All right. Not for everybody. But the bag, what we mean when we say the bag, all the things that are going to serve as our guide rails, our compass, the things that we focus on a day-to-day basis, you know, the things that when we look at, you know, the daily activities we're doing, the weekly activities, the monthly, the yearly, what's going to ultimately be the accumulation that's going to determine the impact that we're going to make on this world, all right, that we like to call our personal legend. So as we strive to live in our purpose and strive for, I should say, purposeful abundance, we want to make sure that we're on the most efficient trajectory on our way to our purpose. So to do so, we got to be clear on the things that we're focusing on. The things that I focus on are peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity, and of course, balance. So maybe take some time to think about the goals that you want to have, and then plot and plan on how to live in your purpose and achieve those goals. All right. What are going to be your focuses from a day-to-day, weekly, monthly? You know, maybe you want to bring some people on board to help out, have an accountability partner, whatever it may be. All right. We just want to challenge ourselves to become the best versions of ourselves and to maximize our potential. So on that note, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Let's see if we got some game from some of my big homies. Let's see. One love from Unc. One love always, people. Enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. Please look out for those that are to come behind you, but always know that you have neighbors that are also in need. Amen. Amen. Bez, shout out to Bez in the building. Tribe gang. Let's see what else we got. Hold on. Oh man. I got to do better with the Discord. I forgot we got a Discord. Yeah, we definitely got a Discord. Hold on. Critical thinking. If you have it handy, throw it in the chat. Yeah, I definitely want to get more in tune to the Discord, because that allows us to, you know, have more of these conversations. Let me see if I can find it very quickly. Hold on. I think I got it right here. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be more on here. How do I even share it? See, I don't even know how to share it. Hold on. Do Discord. Let's see. I accidentally just wrote a message. I wrote Happy Friday, but I guess that's not a bad message. All right. I got to figure out this Discord. If somebody could write it in the chat, that would definitely be appreciated. Somebody write that in the chat. And I think I had Big bro Steve, right? A great message for us to carry us off into the weekend. We are all one. Refuse to be emotionally manipulated by the powers that be. Do not comply. That is a fact. That is a fact. And I see some fire emojis in the chat. Y'all know how we finish it off. Cat Gill wrote some fire emojis. You must have. So Queez would be proud. Queez, y'all know Queez usually leaves the fire emojis, but Cat Gill, thank you so much for the fire emojis. I'm gonna hold up. I got an elder. Let me figure out how to hold on. I'm not getting off the show. Nobody get off real quick. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Let me just figure out how to share this with y'all. Let me figure out how to share this with y'all. All right, Discord. That's a message from Discord. That's a message from Mevo. This is text channels. All right, hold on. Can somebody help me out? Can somebody help me out? Who's in the Discord? Somebody who's in the Discord, help me out a little bit. Okay, it says home. Text channels, general. I don't know how to. Wait, invite members. Somebody got one. Hold on. Did I speak too soon? All right, I got it. All right, so do me a favor. Make sure y'all like on y'all way out. Click that Discord, join the Discord, and life is amazing. Never forget that. Life is amazing. All right. If you feel that life isn't amazing, if you wake up feeling like you're not a superhero, look internally. Sometimes we're looking externally for that light, but sometimes we got to look in the mirror and find it right inside all of us. And if not, if you need a little help, like I said, hit us up. Hit me up. My email is dak@og.com. Anybody that wants to tap in, anybody that wants to get in contact with us, or just better yet, just follow the Discord. Follow the Discord. On that note, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. I just saw Steve join. I saw Dr. King join. Love y'all, man. I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. Y'all have an amazing weekend. Be safe with Halloween and everything else. Be safe as always. Be smart. Let's show a lot of grace, but let's make sure that we're purposefully living and passionately, I should say, living in our purpose. I'll see y'all soon.